Fields of Mistria is an early access farming life sim game from NPC Studio that first entered early access in 2024 and is expected to leave it sometime this year in 2026. They just put out their last update before the full 1.0 release, so we're coming up on the end of the current roadmap. As with any farming simulator and most modern life sim games, the concept alone inspires comparison against the genre's current reigning titan. And with this game, more than most, I feel like we do have to talk about that, but also that it isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's important to remember that Stardew Valley first released in 2016, 10 years ago. The game has received several major updates since then, but the bones of it are still mostly what they were in 2016. And that's not a bad thing either. Stardew Valley is a good game. But there's always room for something new, especially if it actually does bring something new and unexpected to the table. Fields of Mistria is, in many ways, the shoujo to Stardew Valley's shonen. This is primarily true of its aesthetics. While both are drawing heavily on the original Harvest Moon games in both style and substance, Fields of Mistria takes a softer approach to its visuals. This is true of the colors, the lines, and the character designs in general. I say shoujo and shonen here specifically because this game is taking a lot of its visual influences and inspiration from anime. That said, the impulse to compare it to Stardew Valley is understandable, especially because it does take some clear influence. Though not as much as some people might think, both are farming-based life simulators with a number of skills, drawing a lot of inspiration from the older Harvest Moon games, known in the modern day as Story of Seasons, with a lot of mechanical overlap. But the difference is primarily in how they approach those things, as well as how long each game has been in development. As mentioned, Stardew Valley is now 10 years old, while Fields of Mistria only entered its early access period 2 years ago. There's a lot of overlap, but also a lot of things that don't overlap at all. Skill levels work differently, as do buffs and bonuses. The magic that exists on the periphery of Stardew Valley is a point of focus in Mistria, where the player can learn spells and befriend a dragon god. The fishing mechanic draws heavily on Animal Crossing, which is appreciated as a master of Animal Crossing-style fishing games. Also, it has a jump button. I'll draw the comparison one last time myself before moving on, because it's the best way I've found to explain why this game resonates with me in particular. In a lot of ways, Fields of Mistria is what I originally wanted Stardew Valley to be. It almost feels like a response to the things that came before it. And here we leave that comparison behind with the intent to judge the game on its own merits, as a new entry in a well-loved genre that has no shortage of options at the moment. In Fields of Mistria, you play as an adventurer from the Adventurers Guild in the capital city of the Kingdom of Aldaria. Come to the small town of Mistria to help them rebuild after an earthquake that devastated the town in exchange for ownership of nearby farmland. Despite that less than cozy backstory, this is a cozy game in the best sense of the word. It has a lot of little quality of life features that make it easy to play without feeling the need to optimize everything, and much of that seems to be in service of one thing in particular. You can use the shops even if no one is tending them. The liked and loved gifts of NPCs are marked on their profiles as you discover them, and their locations are always marked on the map with little sprites. The social and community aspects are integral to the storyline of the game. The NPCs don't need to be tending shops all day, so they wander the map with more varied schedules and talk to and interact with one another a lot more often. There's a lot of contextual dialogue in response to things like completing quests, or things you've done, or people you're close to. While I'm pretty sure you only get friendship points the first time you talk to an NPC each day, you can continue to do so every time they change their task or location. Even doing that pretty consistently, it took me over an in-game year to get much in the way of repeat dialogue, though I admit that might have been a quirk of the way I was playing. It does mean that I was mostly talking to the same handful of people, though, so it just feels very dynamic. There are a lot of other little quality of life features I really like too. The penalty for passing out is only waking up later the next day, and you can make the days longer in the game's settings. You can choose character pronouns from a long list of options, including all or none, and you can change them at any time. Actually, you can change your name, your farm's name, your appearance, your clothing. You can change pretty much anything other than your character's birthday, because that has an in-game effect that I assume the developers want to prevent players from abusing. Rather than keeping your cosmetics in a chest somewhere or having to interact with a given item to change your clothes, you unlock new cosmetics by using an item that represents them. There are also more categories than I'm used to in a game like this. Hats and other head accessories, earrings, capes, backpacks. My main issue with it is that I want there to be more cosmetics to suit different aesthetics, especially more color options for the ones we have, but since the game is still in early access and actively being supported, I do have hope they'll add more down the line. In particular, being able to seamlessly mix clothing items from different sets would be great. The options we have aren't bad at all, I just always want more pretty skirts and dresses. I'd also like enough options to make myself cute seasonal outfits like the NPCs have. Also, if the developers somehow see this, please give Dozy and Henrietta seasonal outfits. If you're cold, they're cold. Give the dog a scarf. On that note, I'd like for us to have more accessory options, like neck and arm accessories. Necklaces and scarves for us, too, or bracelets and gloves. I'd also like to be able to layer certain accessories, even in the same category, though I suspect that might be harder to implement. But I'm thinking of things like the bow that sits on top of your character's head, but also the hairpins that go on to the side. They don't overlap, and I think they'd look cute together. I just don't want to have to choose. I wonder if it might be possible also to make, contextual outfits, since there's already the ability to save specific preset outfits. Having seasonal outfits, or a beach or swimming outfit that change automatically when the season does, or when you jump in the water or visit the beach, would just be a nice thing to have, I think. All of the Dateable Characters Heart events that I've done so far are pretty much completely wrapped up by the end of the 8 Heart event, and in that event, you're given a choice between a romantic and best friend or platonic route for each of them. That makes me wonder if there might be meaningfully different 10 Heart events if you choose the platonic route instead of just locking you at 8 hearts. At the moment, you can date everyone at once if you so choose, but the developers have already stated you can only marry one person when 1.0 releases. For my main playthrough, I've opted for the Tsundere Blacksmith, March, but pretty much everyone is interesting. My personal least favorite routes are probably Hayden and Valen's, just because they feel like they're not really about them as characters. Really, if I had to give a general critique of the social aspects, I'd say that I want more dialogue options when they come up that feel meaningfully different, more heart-level specific dialogue, and a better sense of progression when it comes to getting to know the NPCs. I'd also really like to see heart events for the non-dateable NPCs. That feels like such an obvious thing for a game with this much focus on the social aspect. The Secret Bachelor and Bachelorette could also probably both do with more dialogue and interaction with the other characters in general. But given the specifics of their unlock criteria, I suspect that will likely be coming in future updates. You aren't really going to be seeing anything super dark in any of the character events so far as I can tell, and there isn't really much in the way of friction or conflict for most of the game. That is something I've seen mixed opinions on, and I recognize it has put quite a few people off. For all the positives of the game, I would also like to see a bit more conflict between some of the characters on occasion, though I don't think it needs to be anything major. Most of these characters are pretty open and friendly from the start, and I don't have a problem with that in itself, but I do think that being at 2 or 4 or 6 or 8 hearts with someone should all feel meaningfully different. I don't need everyone to have a tragic backstory, or even to meaningfully change as a character necessarily, but I would like to gain a deeper understanding of them as I get to know them better. At the moment, I think only March and Juniper have really hit that mark for me, even if I do really like everyone else. The reverse is also true. I've really liked the little dialogues that pop up on occasion where the NPCs ask me about what my life was like before moving to Mistria, and the fact that there are actually meaningfully different dialogue options to give them in response. More of that sort of thing would be a very welcome addition. More interactivity in general, if it's possible to implement, is something I've seen a lot of people calling for, letting us participate in some of the things the NPCs are doing, like their tabletop games. Let's go over some of the smaller nitpicks and observations I have before moving on. First of all, I would love to be able to sit in chairs or couches or benches, and maybe also on the ledge of the fountain in town. More path options and more furniture sets would be welcome also, though I suspect at least the second one will be coming eventually. I wouldn't mind the ability to rotate more furniture items for better layouts either. Making it possible to move coops and barns without needing to remove all your animals would be nice. At the moment, animals at max hearts only give golden produce, which currently isn't able to be used in recipes that call for regular animal produce, but that one seems like a pretty easy fix. Better optimization would also be nice, but I'm pretty sure the devs are already aware of and working on most of the issues related to that. There's a specific report form on the website for random crashes, but I've also found that when you've been playing long enough, it tends to lag a bit. Closing and reopening it currently fixes that, but hopefully that is fully addressed before the full 1.0 release. A more expansive music catalog would also be a more than welcome addition. It's not that any of the songs currently in the game are bad, but they do get a bit repetitive. I mentioned earlier that there's a lot of contextual dialogue in response to things like completing quests. The storyline of Fields of Mistria at present revolves around two major quest lines. The first, the main story, revolves around rebuilding and restoring the town. This is another place where the community aspect really shines. Despite the fact that you are here specifically to help the town in exchange for receiving the farm, you are not the only person putting in effort in the story. Pretty much everyone contributes something to pretty much all of the repair projects. The second major questline is the Mines questline, and even this one has a bit of a social aspect to it as it progresses, though the entire town isn't involved in this one. The skill perks in this game revolve around magical essence, unlocked when the dragon statue on your farm is repaired between day 2 and day 3. This event awakens the spirit of an ancient dragon, Caldaris, who tasks you with offering essence to his shrine in exchange for blessings in the hope of restoring his lost memories. He also encourages you to explore the mines which were condemned after the earthquake for the same reason, in hopes of restoring his lost memories. Progressing in the mines is, of course, what the Mines questline revolves around. It's also how you unlock new spells and mana. Magic is very much present in Mistria, but really only for the player. Dragons and witches existed in history, but are mostly just legends to the rest of the townsfolk. They're pretty much just relics and stories from the era where the land was once ruled by the Witch Queen. I have hope that there may be more questlines implemented in the future because I honestly really like what's here in both. I'd be happy to see quests tied to other skill lines or fully unique things I haven't even thought of. I honestly just really love existing in this world, and I would love to continue doing that. I want to learn more about its lore and history and the world building. I feel like the most glowing review I can give is that I only bought this game a month ago, but I have already completed most of its major content, not because there isn't a lot of it, but because playing even as inefficiently as I can, I've already poured over 120 hours into it. It's the first game in a long time that I've gotten this into. Even fairly recently, I've played a lot of finished games at much higher price points that were significantly less polished and had much less content than this one, which hasn't even had its 1.0 release yet. The developers have already stated they'd also like to continue supporting the game past that point, and I really hope they do, because I see so much potential here that I would truly love to see realized. Recently, when I was talking about the game with a friend, they said to me that what they hope comes of Fields of Mistria is that it and Stardew Valley both continue to receive updates and find themselves in conversation with one another. I think it probably isn't realistic to hope they support it for 10 years or more, but I can definitely dream. Really, I think I've just been spoiled by things like Stardew Valley and Cult of the Lamb in recent years, so if nothing else, I hope it at least gets a few really big updates that give me something I didn't even know I wanted. If you think you might enjoy this game based on what I've said here, I do think it's worth trying out. I've also done my best to keep anything more than what would be considered fairly minor spoilers pretty minimal here, but if you don't mind those, checking out other reviews and videos that aren't trying to avoid spoilers is probably a good idea first. Finally, if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking it or sharing it with your friends, because I really do want more people to find out about this game. If you ask pretty much any of my friends, I have not shut up about it for the past month. And with that, I'm going to go back to my horse game simulator, which is what I've decided to do with it until 1.0 releases. The colors are so pretty. I hope you have a great day, and thank you for watching.